the NBA playoffs starting next month in April, I wanted to start a new series essentially previewing every single contender from the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. And with this video, as you see, is titled, Will the Oklahoma City Thunder break through in the playoffs? And that's a real question because, as y'all all know, they have a 53-12 record. At the recording of this video, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having an amazing year, probably going to win his first MVP, although you can't count on Nikola Jokic, who was averaging a triple-double and had a 30-20-20 game, the first game of that nature in NBA history, which is insane. But for the Thunder, though, it comes down to that question, will they break through in the playoffs? And we saw this team last year, being the #1 seed in the Western Conference, being the youngest #1 seed as a team in NBA history, fall short in the second round in the Western Conference semifinals against the Dallas Mavericks. And as they have the #1 seed locked up in the Western Conference again this year, the same questions will arise if this team will break through and if they'll take the next step and not only make the conference finals, but make the NBA finals and potentially win this year's NBA finals. So in this video, we'll talk about specifically where they have improved at in every single area and facet of the game, their depth, them addressing the big position, how the development of Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams being an all-star this year, players like Alex Caruso being a huge help defensively for them, Isaiah Hartenstein coming from New York, how he has been out in some instances, but when he has been on the court has been very impactful. Chet Holmgren missed those 12 weeks, but after come back, he's been getting back into his rhythm and being the great contributor that he has been to this team. Certainly an all-star big man potential, the versatility that he has, and also players who don't get talked about as much but who have huge contribution to this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Lou Dort, Kason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins. The list really goes on and on for this Oklahoma City Thunder team, and for them to win the NBA championship this year, it goes beyond this dominance in the regular season. We have to see it added into this year's postseason, which I do think is very likely this year, but only time will tell. With that being said though, guys, before we get further into the video, make sure to like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. You know we post about here videos about the NBA, NFL, Marvel, DC, pop culture, all things of that nature. And with that being said, let's talk about if the Oklahoma City Thunder will break through in the playoffs. So yes, guys, as we know, of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder success really does rely heavily on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's averaging essentially 33 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and shooting 52% from the field. As we all know, he has had 11 40-point games this year, 40 30-point games, and 4 50-point games. Absolutely monumental, and that's why I say, in my opinion, especially with the Thunder being a #1 seed another year, a second year in a row, albeit not even mentioning the playoff success yet. That's why I think he should be MVP. But if you say Jokic, I can't even refute that, to be honest with you, because he has been putting up legendary numbers, and really I think Jokic is the best player in the game right now. But I do think Shai is having the best season. But we'll talk about an MVP video later down the line, guys. This video is about the Thunder, and like I said, Shai, he's that guy for sure. Mid-range assassin. Defensively, I think at times goes underrated, and also I hate it when people call him a free throw merchant. I think it's really lazy and I think it's annoying. It's hard to guard great players and people end up fouling him. He gets to the line at a high level. I mean, it's really just that simple to me. But even beyond that though, when you talk about the depth of this team, and I mentioned them a little bit in the intro, but guys like a Lou Dort, who has been with the team for a while, for years. We saw even early in his career when they played in the bubble against the Rockets in that playoff series how much of a pest he was defensively, and now having him and Alex Caruso together in a defensive backcourt at times, it really is a problem for other teams when they're on the offensive end. But I'm not gonna lie though, that's why you have to have someone like a creator like a Jalen Williams or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if you're gonna have Caruso and Lou Dort on the court as well too, because offensively they aren't the greatest, but they get the job done definitely defensively. And Caruso, he had solid tendencies on offense as well, but those two are for sure defensive stoppers. And then you add in a guy like Jalen Williams, who has been amazing in his 3rd season this year, making the all-star game for the first time in his career, averaging 21 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and shooting 48% from the field and 36% from 3. Really solid all around, and I like how he has really been a great compliment to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this season. And honestly, in my opinion, the biggest wild card on his team who can really make a huge difference in terms of the Thunder being real championship contenders is Chet Holmgren. Now we know he missed a lot of time with that hip fracture, missing 39 games specifically over 12 weeks, but now he has been back in. I think he's starting to round into shape each and every game, and at times he doesn't have the most impressive stats, averaging 15 and 8 on the season, shooting 49% from the field though, which is really good. But when he needs to get his numbers offensively and defensively, he's a problem. And I think going into the postseason this year, it's gonna be really huge for the Thunder with Chet Holmgren. Now he's gonna be able to use his versatility in the playoffs. Now I know everyone talks about his thin frame at times, but I think he has strength in different ways, which we've seen a lot of players maneuver. And I think Chet classifies under that as a power forward / center at times, but mostly a power forward. It's gonna be really intriguing to see how he transforms in the playoffs, because I think if Chet elevates his game even more in the playoffs this year, it'll make a huge difference. But the stats for the Thunder, they really weren't too dissimilar from the playoffs last year and the regular season last year. I mean, for example, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he averaged 30 points and 6 assists in the regular season last year, and those same numbers with 30 points and 6 assists in the playoffs as well, leading up into the second round where they lost in 6 games to the Dallas Mavericks. I think one thing for the Thunder that is different from this year's team and last year's team is that they ran into that heartbreak. It just came down to experience, in my opinion. We saw teams in the past like the Boston Celtics, they've lost repeatedly in the playoffs, and I know the Thunder, they lost in the second round last year, and I believe the year before they lost in the play-in, so they were were close, but they've suffered a couple heartbreaks now. We saw with the Boston Celtics a few years ago, losing it in the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. They lost to the Heat in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, and then last year against the Mavericks, they were finally able to break through and win their first title with this current core with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and all things of that nature. And it could be a similar type of journey and track for the Thunder. Now, that was a couple of more seasons of heartbreak. Like I said, the Thunder only lost in the second round last year, and they lost in the play-in beforehand. So maybe you could make the argument that they need one more heartbreak to potentially finally know what it takes to win it all. But I think that this team currently constructed, they have a shot to win it all. Now, I will say with teams like the Cavs, who we'll talk about in the future, they have something to say about that. In the Celtics, their experience, they still look very dangerous, and it'll be interesting in the Eastern Conference to see who represents the East. But for the West and the Thunder, they're going to run into a team potentially, inevitably, depending on matchups and things of that nature and how the playoffs go. They might run into Denver, and after recording this video, they did beat the Nuggets by a good amount today after recording this video, 127 to 103. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 48 and 5 in this game, so that's saying a lot, and we'll see if they play against each other how things will go there. A few weeks ago, how the Nuggets were playing with that little stretch that they had, I would have picked the Nuggets in terms of a playoff matchup, and also of course their experience and with them winning the finals a couple years ago. But right now, like I'm saying, guys, the Thunder, I think they do have what it takes to break through in the playoffs. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder's advanced stats also for this season, of course they're at the top of the league in mostly every major statistical category, averaging almost 120 points per game, which is 4th in the league, averaging nearly 45 rebounds per game, which is 12th in the league, assists almost 27 per game, 13th in the league, and they have the second ranked defense in the league, only allowing opponents to 106 points per game. In addition to that, also having 5 players average double figures, of course with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging the most points per game in the league with 33, but also players like Isaiah Hartenstein, who averages 10 points, Chet Holmgren 15, Jalen Williams 21, and Aaron Wiggins nearly 12 points per game. So the versatility and the depth and the ways that Oklahoma City Thunder can maneuver their scoring, their defensive versatility, and overall their style of play makes them a force to be reckoned with for sure. With that also, they rank 8th in pace in the NBA. Their offensive rating is 119.5, which is 4th in the NBA. Their defensive rating, like I mentioned, they have the second best defense, but their defensive rating is 1st in the NBA. So overall, they have the makings of a team that can do some damage in the postseason. Their head coach, Mark Daigneault, I probably said his name wrong, but it's all good. He puts his team in great positions to be successful, honestly, and handling a loaded roster like this and a loaded young roster, it takes a lot. But keeping that continuity that they've had and adding in several veterans like Alex Caruso, like Isaiah Hartenstein, who have been able to impact their defense, I think it really just speaks to how they have built this team in terms of recognizing where they fell short last year, guarding players like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who really had their way in that postseason series last year in the Western Conference semifinals, and now adding reinforcements and now having more weapons, and now being a league that is heavily reliant on bigs in the playoffs and how that can make such a difference defensively in the postseason when the game slows down. Having an Isaiah Hartenstein along with a Chet Holmgren, having even the other Jalen Williams as well too, just having that depth for their team in the playoffs will go a long way, and they do have what it takes, in my opinion. Now really, it's gonna tell a lot because we know what the Western Conference standing, it changes and fluctuates so much, and I think it's very premature for me to say where I think things will go in terms of seeding. After the second seed, to be honest, we know that the Thunder, like I said, they have the 1 seed locked up. I mean, come on, have a 53-12 record, but it really could fluctuate so much depending on who they play in the first round, because as we know, as a first round team, you usually play against the most easiest team, but you can't necessarily summarily dismiss the team that they play, because what if somehow who are their 7th seed right now, the Timberwolves, they slip into the 8th seed? I think that'll be an interesting and long and tough first round series. It could go 6 games in my opinion, but you never know. The Thunder, they are a really talented team, and I think a lot of people have disrespected them, especially someone like a Shannon Sharp who says this type of stuff.
It doesn't matter. OKC, KFC, UFC. Lakers in 5. 4 seed, mustard seed, poppy seed. Lakers in 5.
Funny and laughable and comical for sure, and I'm a Luka Doncic fan, so I would love this honestly, but I think it's too premature to say that a team like this would beat them in a series. And typically we see in the NBA in series, the best team usually always wins. Even for my example, as a Luka Doncic fan last year, I picked the Mavericks to beat the Celtics just because I love Luka more. Obviously the Celtics, they're a way more dominant team, and they won in 5 games for a reason. So like, even an example like that, the best team usually always wins, and we can't necessarily say that the Thunder regular season success being this dominant, only having 12 losses, is for no reason. I mean, if the Thunder didn't lose any games for the rest of this year, they would be 70-12. That's saying a lot. That's crazy. And also the same for the Cavaliers. If they didn't lose another game for the rest of this season, they would match the Bulls record from the 95-96 season being 72-10. So I'm not sure that that'll happen, but that's just an example of how dominant both of these teams have been in the Thunder and Cavs, but specifically for this video, the Thunder. And last year they won 57-25, so they already have 13 less losses than they had. Easy to say that they will not lose even close to that many amount of games. I give it at the most 14, maybe 15. They could almost win 70 games this year, guys, and that's insane. So just to say that a team won't necessarily translate into the playoffs, especially adding the reinforcements that they've had this year, I think the Thunder, they will be lit and they're going to position themselves to win the NBA Finals for sure, and not just necessarily just be in them. Because the goal, I think a lot of people get it so misconstrued. Yes, you want to make the finals, but if you don't win, who cares? Everyone talks about past champions, and no one necessarily, of course, they'll talk about the team they played against, but it's not about if you just make it there. And I talk about this for the NBA and NFL. Who cares if you get there? Who cares if we finally made the conference finals? We finally made the NBA Finals. You're there to win it. So if you don't win it, like Kobe said,
job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
The job isn't finished. So I think the Thunder, they have a great chance to make and win the NBA Finals, but they got to do it. And we will see in the next month and change. We're really in April because, like I said, the regular season is pretty much locked up, especially them being the #1 seed. But we will see if they take that next leap and have the same type of dominance in the playoffs that they've had in the regular season this year so far. But I think it's definitely a real possibility that the Oklahoma City Thunder break through in this year's 2025 NBA playoffs. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Like I said, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. If y'all think the Oklahoma City Thunder have the chance to not only make the finals but win the finals, because it's going to take a lot. We know how loaded the Western Conference is. This team, they have looked really poised throughout this year, and there's definitely a difference between this year's current iteration of the Oklahoma City Thunder and last year in 2024. So we will see. So y'all let me know in the comments down below, do you think that they're real championship contenders? But with that being said though, guys, like I said, stay tuned for more content on this new NBA playoff series. This is just the first of many. I plan to next probably talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and how their season has been, but certainly more teams, of course, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Lakers, all championship contenders and things like that. So y'all stay tuned for more NBA videos and also NFL videos as well too, as free agency has started, and we're gonna have a video recapping that too. So like I said, a lot of stuff on the way, guys. Y'all be blessed. I hope this has been a good couple of months of 2025 for y'all. If it hasn't, know that this year is just beginning, is just starting, and God has so many great things for you and a great purpose for every single person watching this video and in general on this earth. So y'all be blessed. You know that y'all matter. Like I said, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Swagger Russ, all social media things of that nature. Y'all be blessed. Know that Jesus loves you. Y'all have a good one and keep being legendary.